Hey, who's up?
Hello. Hi, my name is Heidi. I'm Rebecca.
Hi, Heidi. Hi, Rebecca.
We're obviously huge fans of the show, and especially the strong female characters. Who says nobody likes this? No, it's not. Okay. All right.
Awkward. Everybody's just there minding their own business, fans of a show. No one's thinking in terms of gender, male or female. People are individualists, which is the only way to have true gender equality. And then these psychotic, self-centered feminist retards come in there making everything about the strong female characters.
But those wonderful, strong women have really had a rough season this season, and some of the fans have reacted negatively, some have reacted really positively. So our question is, I guess, mostly directed at the showrunners, and is, will season 6 more overtly address and complicate these criticisms by showing them as the pitfalls of patriarchy, rape culture, and other forms of oppression? Thanks.
Well, wow. Cool.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Uncomfortable, politically correct response to avoid offending the professional perpetual victims. But luckily, the Game of Thrones casts redeemed themselves.
Complicated it will be. I mostly like that those guys put so much time into dressing very similarly, and then one's reading off an iPhone and one has an actual pad.
Yeah.
So but is that the end of that answer, pretty much?
I think they're trying to, put together the best and most realistic would be the wrong word, but a mix of those personalities in that world at that mythical time that the show takes place. And so things were not great for a lot of people, male and female.
Things were not great for a lot of people, male and female. You'd think the fact that things were not great for a lot of people, male and female, would be pretty frickin' obvious considering the nature of Game of Thrones. Here's one example. Yeah, I'd say men in Game of Thrones can have it pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
I feel like this year on the show, a lot of characters had a really hard time, not just the women.
Yeah.
Maisie Williams coming in. The true gender egalitarian sweeps in with her additional point. Let's hear it again. Instant replay. Maisie Williams, the adorable girl who plays Arya Stark, Maisie Williams.
The show, a lot of characters had a really hard time, not just the women.
Yeah, girls.
Not just the women have a hard time in Game of Thrones. Well done. And then we get a response here from Lord Varys.
The show, a lot of characters had a really hard time, not just the women.
Yeah, girls aren't the only ones to learn something.
Of course, this guy, he plays the character Lord Varys. He just said that girls aren't the only ones to lose something. And of course, in the show, this isn't really a spoiler. He actually has his cock and balls cut off at one point in the show.
Some men used small boys, but what he wanted was far worse. He gave me a potion that made me powerless to move or speak, yet did nothing to dull my senses. With a hooked blade he sliced me, root and stem, chanting all the while. He
Cut his cock and balls off. That sounds pretty bad. I think men in Game of Thrones suffer too. Oh, speaking of cutting cocks and balls off, last I checked, it's pretty much in the West, it's pretty much unanimous that it's okay to mutilate the genitalia of young boys, otherwise known as circumcision. So feminists freak out about, the evil, mutilation, the removal of women's clitorises in third world countries. It's so evil. And yet, 24/7 here in America, even in a first world country, men, young, helpless, defenseless little baby boys, are getting their dicks chopped up for really no rational reason. So, again, true gender equality, in my book, last I checked, is about looking at the pros and cons of both men and women, not just hyper-focusing on women as if they're the only ones who can suffer, which is pretty much all mainstream feminism does today. But, speaking of suffering in Game of Thrones, I went ahead and I did the math. 61 people died. Don't worry, this is all spoiler-free. 61 people died in Game of Thrones so far in the show. And I went ahead and I did the math. And it turns out that of the 61 people who died, 46 were men and only 15 were women. So, again, the numbers don't lie. The math doesn't lie. If we're going to talk about male and female suffering, if these dumb feminist women want to come in and claim that the women in Game of Thrones in the past season had to endure such horrible atrocities, well, let's just consider the fact that of the 61 main characters who have died so far in Game of Thrones, 46 were men and 15 were women. It takes a real extreme kind of narcissistic, self-centered cunt to overlook such basic math. These feminist girls are so self-centered, that it's almost like they don't even notice that almost three times more men die in Game of Thrones than fucking women do. But they don't see that because it's almost like feminism. Really, what feminism has proven to me is that the best that women could come up with as a collective, this feminist movement is the most self-centered, narcissistic, delusional, and deceptive, corrupt thing I've ever seen in my life. It's one of the most corrupt things I've ever seen in my life. It's not a good reputation. It's not giving a good impression for the rest of the world about what women are capable of. When the triumph of women's collective powers is the feminist movement, and that movement happens to be the most self-centered, narcissistic, corrupt, and deceitful fucking movement I think has ever fucking existed. Not a good reputation for women and what their collective powers are. I mean, it's pathetic. Yeah, it's kind of silly. It does remind me of a video that I just re-uploaded because it was deleted by YouTube. It's called Game of Thrones and Female Pedophilia. Feminism Allows Women to Molest Boys. It's a really good video that talks about a female pedophilia scene in Game of Thrones. But I recommend you guys check that video out. Put the link up here on screen. Last thing, though, speaking of female pedophilia, let's see here. What do we got here? We got Maisie Williams. Look at her. Oh, see, I think that this girl is absolutely fucking adorable. I think she's cute. I would make sweet, slow love to Maisie Williams, especially after she came in with that nice, quippy response saying, men have it bad in this show, too. Let's go ahead and play that instant replay.
Yeah, girls aren't the only.
Great. For a lot of people, male and female.
Yeah.
I feel like this year on the show, a lot of characters had a really hard time, not just the women.
Yeah, girls aren't the only ones.
Bam. Bam. See, I would make sweet, slow love. And people say, oh my God, what are you, a pedophile? Well, actually, I'm not a pedophile because Maisie Williams actually just turned 18 this past April. So I wouldn't be a pedophile if I give her the sweet, slow love that she desires. Because I can tell that Maisie is actually a woman who hasn't rejected her femininity. In fact, even though she doesn't look attractive in the mainstream contemporary sense, the fact that she hasn't rejected her femininity makes her very, very sexy. So I would make sweet, slow love to you, Maisie Williams. If you're watching right now, I would make sweet, slow love to you. So there you have it, guys. Feminists get shut down at Comic-Con. by the Game of Thrones cast, just shut down with their silly self-centered questions. Yeah, women are the only ones suffering. The evil patriarchy. The evil patriarchy where his character gets his cock and balls chopped off, sort of like the way in real life men are constantly getting circumcised. And the same so-called patriarchy where this poor motherfucker got his eyeballs and head basically exploded. So, yeah, feminists, it seems like feminists are capable of nothing more than self-centered narcissism, and it gives a really bad reputation and name for women. I would make sweet, slow love to this girl. All right.
That's not very traditional, and I think that a man should really pay for the first date.
Fuck that. We're splitting the bill.